Yeah, I think, obviously we all have the challenges with COVID that we're dealing with. So we've got to be mindful of that and how we practice and how we go about things and make sure we're emphasizing safety and doing everything we can to try to make sure that we have as many games as we can and we're safe as possible. Um, with that, I'll say our guys have done a good job in that department. On the positive side with our group, I think that we have a group that's very wants to learn, wants to do the right thing, is bought into what we're trying to do. The challenge we have is, we returned 3 players from last year and that played meaningful minutes or played for us. And so we're trying to integrate a lot of new guys in a challenging system. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. And I'll leave it at that. Any questions?
First one will be from Ed Graney at the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Hey, Coach. So, a lot of times coaches will tell kids, control what you can control. But in this instance, what's kind of been your message when it comes to being careful in the COVID and kind of the unknowns they deal with now on a daily basis before they get to practice and when they're not with you?
Yeah, it's obviously reinforcing the wearing a mask, social distancing, sanitizer, all those things. We've made a commitment to each other to not, go out in public to restaurants and gatherings and all those things. I'm not naive. I know our young people on our team are 18 to 22 years old, and sometimes that's an age range where the best decisions aren't always made. With that being said, I feel good about our emphasis on it, what our guys have done. And so it's more trying to educate them when there's new information out there, when we learn things that could put them at risk and trying to do everything we can to mitigate it.
And if I can, one follow-up, we haven't talked to you since the schedule came out. The prep of playing back-to-back against teams. I know you have a non-conference first, but what did you think about ultimately the decision on how that went?
So your question is the games in North Carolina?
No, I'm sorry. More when they went to the 20 in the back.
Oh, the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think this. I understand why the conference. I mean, they're trying to be as safe as possible. They're trying to limit costs and lower expenses of travel, and teams trying to be safe with that. So I understand why the league went to the schedule they did. I think the positive is the cost and the safety. I think the challenge is it's really hard to beat somebody twice on the road. And I think what that does is there's a chance it could pull more teams into the middle of the pack in the conference standings. I would be someone that would be more inclined to say, we want to try to push for more teams in the NCAA tournament. I think that should be the goal of the league, and that would be the one thing. But again, it's unproven at this point. It's unprecedented, something that hasn't been done. So it's hard to say for sure how that will go. But that would be my initial thoughts on the schedule.
Thanks, TJ.
Next, we'll go to Ben Gotts with the Review-Journal.
Hi, TJ. Just 2 quick ones for you. First of all, just how are your guys to play someone not on their own team?
They're really excited. I mean, to get out there and to be able to compete with somebody else. We've had our challenges, but at the same time, it's been a very long preseason. For part of it, we didn't know if we'd have games, if we'd have non-conference, when we'd have games. In the last few weeks now, we've had a date on the board or a game on the board that we can look forward to. So I know our guys are excited for that opportunity and to get out and play somebody else. I think they're fired up for that.
And then I wanted to ask you about Bryce Hamilton, since we're supposed to talk to him later today. Just what areas do you think he can still grow in heading into his junior year?
I think from a defensive standpoint, he needs to grow into a guy who's a consistent defender. And really with that, it means doing a better job guarding the 3-point line, taking guys out that are shooters, not allowing guys to shoot, not being late to closeouts. I think becoming an elite rebounder. I think he's as good of a guard rebounder as I've been around or seen. He averaged 6 a game last year. I think he can get over 8. Obviously, the pace and possessions matter, but I think he can really make progress there. Offensively, shooting the 3 with more consistency and regularity, which he's done. He's put the time and the work in. And then I think this year, teams are going to game plan for him. They're going to be packing the paint when he drives. They're going to be sliding over, trying to take charges. So him being able to make the right kick to a shooter and make the right play is going to be really important. So I think those are the 4 things we've tried to focus his effort and attention.
Thanks, TJ.
Go to Jeff Waterlove.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for your time. You have a lot of newcomers coming in, whether it be the freshmen and, of course, like Ito Delcadia. Talk a little bit about implementing them into your system and maybe who's been kind of standing out as you've been implementing them into said system.
I think, the hard part for all the newcomers, which we have 8 of them, in terms of guys that weren't with our program, is we didn't really have much or any of a summer. We weren't able to get that extra work. So those guys are probably behind where they might normally be or where we'd like them to be. I think this is a year you'd really like to have a veteran team. And we're on the opposite side of that continuum in terms of having 8 new guys. So what we've seen is, we knew that with Jenkins sitting out and Moses Wood, those guys gave us some experience. But with the newcomers overall, I think, from an impact standpoint, Caleb Grill has probably been one that really stands out. He's physically tough. He can shoot the ball. He's a lockdown defender. He's done a tremendous job for us up to this point. Nick Blake has certainly had some moments. He's a guy that's versatility at the guard position at 6'6". He can dribble, pass, and shoot. And so he stood out at times. Devin Tillis as a freshman is a guy that just makes the right play at the right time, and he makes shots. He's smart, high IQ. He's given us some really, good looks. And those are probably the guys at this point that have stood out the most. And then I think with Edo, another guy on the front line to give us some depth in physicality. So that's what we've seen to this point. Some guys that have really kind of stood out and separated themselves.
Go to Mike Romalo from the Las Vegas Sun.
Yeah, Coach, it seems whenever anyone talks about Marvin Coleman, they're talking about leadership and intangibles. But as a point guard now playing with 2, high scoring wing players, what do you need to see from him on the court in terms of X's and O's and, the tangible stuff from him this year?
Well, I mean, he's got to be our catalyst. He's got to command the game. At times, guys who are big time scorers sometimes play better defense when they're seeing the ball go through the hole. Sometimes those guys, if they don't touch the ball for a period of time, it doesn't make the offense flow the right way. So Marvin's job essentially is to make sure he commands everybody else, that we play with passion, not emotion, that the ball is moving with great pace. And then, for him, he's got to be an opportunistic offensive player, whether that means being a great cutter on penetration, whether it means being somebody that gets us into paint on a drive, whether it means knocking down a shot when his feet are set on the 3-point line. Those are the things from an offensive standpoint. And defensively, he's got to be an elite communicator. He's got to make sure we have the matchups we want. He has to make sure we're executing the game plan that we put in. And he's just got to keep it all together. And that's what we've seen from him, is that he's really special in that area. And he's going to need to be this year as we mold a bunch of new players together. Like I said, last year was a different challenge. He rose to the forefront because I felt like we had a lot of guys that weren't real excited about the role we defined for them, but they were older. This year, the challenge is we've got a lot of younger guys that need a lot more mentoring. And so he's got to be a great communicator in a different way this year to help teach those guys on the fly, because we haven't had the summer and the reps we normally would have.
Back to Ed Graney. Ed, you're muted.
TJ, we asked football coaches before we went into the season on this in terms of what they've learned having to go through this. You're about to go into a season. Has the uneasiness or is the daily kind of grind of this pandemic taught you anything about yourself as a coach before you actually head into a season, have to deal with this daily?
I think the first thing is that you have to really be mindful of what others are going through. You have to understand everybody handles these type of things differently, adversity. So I think we have to spend more time with the young people in our program to listen, to learn, because you take for granted sometimes how they may be feeling, what they're going through, some of the challenges they're experiencing. I think that's a big part of it. One thing we really try to do is spend a lot of hours with our guys off the court, whether it's watching film, just talking to them, team building, doing those things. So it's really taught me that. Hopefully it's taught all of us a little more humility, thankfulness, gratitude for what we do have, and not taking those things for granted, because we know how quickly they can be taken from us. And so we're just trying to really stay in the moment. You know, we've kind of had this mantra we've talked about, what's next? Not a question, but an exclamation point, because we don't know what's coming at us. There's going to be games probably canceled to COVID tests one way or another. There's going to be things moved around, and we're not going to be able to control any of that. But what we can control is that we attack what's in front of us. And that's where I really focus on, hey, what's next? We can't control what happened. What's next? Let's get to it.
Thanks, TJ.
Tyler Bischoff from ESPN Radio.
TJ, have you had any players or coaches or staff test positive?
Yeah, we can't talk about that. I don't think, due to the HIPAA rules or laws. I don't know if that's, Andy, you might be able to help me out there.
Yeah, we can't identify individuals.
Okay. And then just from David Jenkins' standpoint, what about his game makes you confident that his numbers and the way he plays will translate stepping up conference-wise?
Yeah, he's a dynamic scorer. Obviously, he's highly competitive, shoots the ball at a high level from deep, has a scoring mentality. What makes it translate is, if you look at his stats, some guys play and score better against lesser teams. My experience with David when we were at South Dakota State is he had a lot of his big games against the better teams. And I think he's a really tough cover at his size, because he can get his shot off. He's got such great feet to get into his shooting motion. So I think his work ethic, his competitiveness, his talent to score the ball, all those things are going to translate. And we're looking for him to establish himself as well as an elite on-ball defender. That's one thing we've really been working on, and hopefully will translate as well.
Go back to Jeff Waterlove. If anyone does have any further questions, please message me in the chat.
Coach, talk a little bit about the additions of point guard from Gorman, Zayon Collins, forward, and Arthur Kaluma, and of course Keyshawn Gilbert in that 2021 class. They've been ranked as high as 14th in the nation. Talk about their impact and what it means to recruit at that high of a level only 2 years into your tenure.
I think we certainly created a focus when we came in to recruit the young people here locally. It's also great when you have a guy like Marvin Coleman who steps up for you and really becomes a coach, a local guy who's a coach on the floor for us. This recruiting class obviously had a local feel to it in our class, in the 2020 class. And now in the 21 class, we've had more time, 17, 18 months that we've been here, to really recruit those guys and lock in. And that's what we've done on all three of those young men. I think, starting out, just, going alphabetically with Zayon, a guy who's a pass first point guard, a playmaker, can push the pace, elite passer, high assist guy, low turnover guy, winner, competitor, just finds a way, imposes his will on games. He's one of those guys that has that effect. He's kind of like a Pied Piper where guys want to follow him. He's got the credibility, and everybody's played against him for years and knows what he can do. So he's already, in a short period of time, had that impact on us. With Keyshawn, he's the guy that I think others aren't quite as aware of. He's very young for his age, but he is tough. He is competitive. He is a physical guard. He's a winner. He's got a ton of upside left in him. He's going to have a body that's ready to come in and compete in the Mountain West. He's probably 6'3", 6'4", 185 pounds right now. He looks great. And so he gives us a physical, hard-nosed, big guard. And he can make shots. He can knock down shots. So I think he'll give us a presence early as well. And then with Arthur Kaluma, he's really what we look for in a mismatch type of player, a guy who has the size at 6'8", 225, to physically score and finish around the rim and rebound at a high level, but where he possesses the guard skills to make plays on the perimeter, to distort a defense, to create an advantage. And so, and he can shoot the ball well also. So I think those three guys are really, they all look to be guys that can impact things right away. And it helps us because it puts us on the map and says, here we are. I think year one, you're building those habits and standards, trying to expand work capacity, create daily habits. And then now as we go to year two, I think it's really important that you have everybody on the bus is bought in and bought into their role and cares about their teammates and plays for each other. And now we have a chance to have a really impactful recruiting class with three high level guys come in and it's exciting.
Go to Mike Dixon, Vegas Sports Daily. Mike, are you there? Mike, I don't think we can hear you. Yeah, it's not working. You're not muted, but we can't hear you for some. TJ, can you hear him?
No.
Okay. Well, sorry about that, Mike. We'll move on. If anyone else has any questions, you got 10 seconds or else we're gonna wrap it up here. Oh, that looks like it's it. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time, and thanks everyone. We'll see you a little later for the players.
Thanks. Great to see everybody. Take care.